Welcome everybody to tonight's Kaizen Coaching. I'm super excited to be able to share with you a little bit about how we are fighting back against the enemies of wealth. That's going to be an ongoing theme moving forward. I've actually finished putting together my official website, which is mykaizencoaching.com if you want to go take a look at it. And it's all designed around the enemies of wealth and how to fight back and the tools that we're using to be able to make sure that those enemies aren't getting the better of us, right? And that we're actually we have a whole arsenal in our tool belt that we can use to fight back against the things that would keep us from moving ahead. And it ties into, of course, the Kaizen philosophy. This is just one piece of it. But everything we do with Kaizen, meaning continuous improvement and ongoing, just daily, step-by-step, things that we can do to improve not only our wealth, but our health and our leadership and all the different things that are going to make us a $1 million person, because that is the goal, right? Jim Rohn always taught that if you want to be a millionaire, you have to be a $1 million person first. So tonight, we're going to go ahead and talk about the very first enemy of wealth, which happens to be taxes. Okay, there's lots of things that keep us from moving ahead, but taxes, unfortunately, is the number one thing that just keeps us from going beyond what we need to do, and fighting against the headwinds, like I like to say, that keep us from moving ahead. This is the number one thing. So let's go ahead and share the presentation. So Kaizen Coaching, Jeremy Jenkins. Hope you like the new updated graphic for that. But here is the thing: we have lots of different enemies of wealth. But the number one thing is taxes, and we need to figure out a way how to fight back legally, of course, right? I'm not trying to give tax advice here as far as, how to hide your money and, do offshore stuff and all those that's not why we're here. We're just talking about a very simple thing that most people don't realize. And that is that the United States tax code is designed and is built to favor entrepreneurship. Okay. A lot of people, they just do this typical thing. When you're in high school, go get a job, start, getting taxes deducted out, start doing your tax return in the beginning of the year and hope that you get a refund because you have, the standard deduction or other things. But what most people don't realize is that if you're an entrepreneur, you have so much more that you can deduct. And it really helps you in the long term for a lot of reasons. We're going to dive into those reasons right now. So here's the thing, and it's not just the US, right? Other foreign tax codes too. Specifically, I know Canada, very similar to the United States, and then Mexico, not quite the same, but they've got some things in there too. And I'm sure that most countries are designed somewhat similarly, but the United States, for sure, 100% has so many things that you can take advantage of. And what's crazy is that the average American has over $100 per week withheld from their paycheck in federal withholdings, right? And so you think about that, and it's like, holy cow, over the course of a year, that's about $5,000 or more, right? Depending on how much you make. And so it's, you think about, okay, why does the government take so much, right, per year? And you just kind of have to do the math on that and go, right? So it's upwards of about 20%. So if you look at every Monday, you can just call that tax day, because what you're doing is you're donating 20% of your income to the government every week to do whatever they want, right? So if the average person's making about $100 a day, right? So you think about that. Okay, boom, right? It's getting taken. 20% is being pulled out every single week. And that is, in my opinion, not the healthiest way to get ahead. Okay. So yeah, just one day of the week you're paying in taxes depending on your tax bracket. Crazy stuff. So the power of deductions, right? What could you do with all that money that the government is taking out every single year, right? Now, a lot of it comes back maybe in a tax refund, right? But not all of it does, because there's other things that also get taken out. And we know this from whether it's Social Security and Medicare and all these different things, right, that get taken out besides just the federal and state deductions, or not deduction, but with withholdings. So what could you do if you had at least a big portion of that back in your pocket? Okay. So the $1 million question is, how do you get it back besides just waiting for the whole year, right? And hoping that you've got enough deductions, and the standard deduction or whatever is enough to get a decent return. Well, you can't control what the government does with your tax money, but you can control how much money you give to them. Millions and millions of Americans are taking tax deductions every single year that they don't know they can. Okay. So the real question is how? Like, how is this even possible? What are you talking about? Right? Well, the answer is it requires having a home-based business. So, in fact, it's been said that you would have to be crazy to not be running a home-based business, especially if you live in the United States and Canada, because the tax code is specifically written to benefit entrepreneurs. So it's like you have to start taking advantage of these wonderful tax benefits the government is willing to give you just for having a home-based business. Okay. And it's not complicated. It's really not. A lot of people might say, why do I have to be an entrepreneur? Do I have to, be part of one of those pyramid schemes or whatever? And, the answer is no, it's not that hard. You just, you can set up your little home-based business. Okay. Set up a little LLC. Here in Utah, it's like $18 a year to have your little LLC. That's all it costs. $18 a year. Okay. It's like $1.10 per month or something like that. So you set it up and you just come up with a fun little name, and now you've got your little LLC business, and you can get a free what they call an EIN number, and now you've got a home-based business. It doesn't mean you have to make a whole lot of money. It doesn't mean you have to, worry about all these expenses and everything of having a business, a traditional business. No, home-based business is relatively easy. Okay. I'm not saying it's, you don't have to do anything, but it's relatively easy, and most people can do it. You don't have to hire an accountant or, a CPA or anything to manage all your taxes and file quarterly. No, if you're just doing a sole proprietor LLC from home, then guess what? You're good to go. So this is the quickest way to increase your wealth with the tax savings. And here's how it works. This is kind of what it looks like. Now, because you have a home-based business, now that you have your little LLC, here are some of the things that you can write off. Okay. You can deduct part of your rent and your mortgage because you now have a home office. And you can say, hey, this room, right, my home office, my den, or just your bedroom, whatever you got, okay, your kitchen, you can designate that as your little home office. And so now you can, whatever you're paying for your mortgage or your rent every month, and utilities and all that kind of stuff, now counts as the home business office. Okay, so pretty cool. Also, cell phone cost, right? It's assuming you're paying $50 a month for your cell phone and you're using that for your little business. Okay, yep, it's now tax deductible. Meals, right? So if you go out to dinner and you talk about your business, this is really cool and this is legit. So let's say you and your spouse, right? You're in business together. This is your together business. Okay. Well, if you out to dinner and then during that dinner, you take time to talk about, okay, here's what we're doing for our business. This is what we're going to spend on advertising, or this is what we're going to do on whatever. Guess what? That's now a business meal. And you can actually deduct the cost of that meal as a business meal on your taxes. Okay. The cost of internet, right? Same thing, because you have a home office in your house. Well, guess what? The internet costs can be part of that home office. If you're using Zoom or Meeting or any other kind of conference line, you're paying, $20 a month or $240 a year for that. Tax deductible, electricity, gas, all those things, right? Office supplies, you need to get paper clips and paper and pens and printer ink and all that kind of stuff, envelopes, whatever, right? Let's assume it's $20 a month. Okay, all that's tax deductible. Your initial starter pack for your business, right? So whatever business you're in, a lot of people I know are doing multiple. So, if you're buying a package or you're on an auto ship every month, guess what? That is also tax deductible. How cool is that? And then if you're on a monthly membership or subscription, okay, even if it has shipping on it, guess what? Tax deductible. If you want to buy some leads for your business, also tax deductible. If you are paying for a marketing website or other online tools, tax deductible. If you get yourself some business cards, and if you got yourself some logo clothing or swag or gear, right? Again, all of that is tax deductible. It's something that you can put towards reducing your income so your tax liability is less. Okay. So, and we didn't even talk about vehicle expenses, right? Mileage, if you drive to a meeting or something, tax deductible. You got office equipment, right? You buy yourself a new laptop for your business, tax deductible. Contract labor, right? You hire somebody to, answer phones for you or, write emails for you or whatever, tax deductible. All these different kinds of things are now deductions that you can take. Super, super cool. Now, here's why it's so interesting. So if you take a look at this graphic here, right, you've got your traditional employment, which is called W-2 employment. And then you have what's called self-employment, which is a 1099. Okay. So if you're just a traditional employee at a business and you make $1,000, then let's just assume your tax bracket is that you got to pay $250 out of that 1,000. Okay. So 25% or whatever. Well, guess what? Your after-tax dollars are now $750. And let's say you wanted to go buy a computer. Okay. So you now expense that, that computer as a non-business person or a non-entrepreneur. Well, you just pay the full price and now your remaining capital, you're negative 150. But check this out. If you're self-employed, you have your little LLC business, okay, you're in business for yourself, guess what you get to do? Of the $1,000 earnings, you first subtract the $900 cost of that computer. Now your income is actually only $100, right? So your taxable income, or your tax, if you're paying 25% on just $100, it's only $25. So your remaining capital is now 75. See how that works? It's really, really fascinating. So the deductions reduce the amount that you earned or made. And so your taxable income is a lot less. And there's all kinds of other things like going out of town, travel, right? Books that you buy, membership, maybe for your spouse, extra leads, stamps and postage, new computer, right? And then it depreciates for the next 3 years. So you buy it this year, and guess what? For the next 3 years, you actually can continue to deduct for what you paid for that computer. So all in all, there's another about $5,500 in deductions that you can take right off the top of your taxes. Okay. So we're talking with everything, we're right around $15,000. And that's just a low number of tax deductions that you can take that, the government is not going to take from you, because guess what? You reduced your income. And so your tax liability is a lot less. All right. So the other really cool thing about being an entrepreneur is that you can now get what's called an SEP IRA. Okay, so we've all heard of IRAs, right? And this tax deferred, retirement accounts and stuff like that. or a lot of people just use their 401k, or sometimes you can have like a Roth IRA. There's different ones, but what the SEP is it stands for Simplified Employee Pension. Okay, so that is now available to you as a home-based business owner. Okay, so you now can put your income up to 25% of your income, or up to $70,000 a year, into the SEP IRA, or Simplified Employee Pension, and write the whole thing off as a tax deduction. Wow. So let's say within 6 months to a year, you start making $2,000 a week or a month or whatever with your business, and you decide that you want to put in about $1,000 a month into your SEP IRA. Well, there you go. You got another $12,000 in tax deductions on top of the other $15,000 that we talked about before. So there you got about $27,000 in tax deductions. How cool is that, right? And the more deductions you have, the less taxes you have to pay, and the higher your tax return is going to be. So here's what you need to do. You can do it the old school way or the new school way, right? You can go get yourself 12 folders and label them: rent, mortgage payment, meals and entertainment, cell phone, internet, electric, gas, office supplies, durable equipment, education, product orders, advertising, travel expense, all those things, right? And just get a file box and put all those folders in there, and then keep track of all those expenses in this folder, so you've got it ready for when you're going to do your taxes. Or you can sign up for a software that I use personally. It's called Hurdler. Okay. And it keeps track of everything electronically. It's really cool. It's an app on your phone and also on the website, and it connects to your bank, and any kind of, whether you're using Chase or American Express or Bank of America or, a credit union, whatever, doesn't matter what you're using for your expenditures, it connects to it, and it will track all of the money coming in, and it tracks all of the money going out. And then it lets you designate it or tag it as what is that a personal expense, or was that a business expense, and what category, right? So you can just kind of go in, and you could do it daily. I personally do it about weekly, and I just go in and it says, hey, you need to tag these ones, right? And I go, oh, okay, yeah, what was that? Oh, that was personal. That was personal. Oh, no, that was for business, right? And you can do that. And then because it's an app on your phone, it actually measures when you're driving somewhere. Okay, it detects that you're driving, and so it'll then ask you and say, hey, you drove from here to here. What was that? Was that personal, or was that a business one, right? And then you can swipe, right? Kind of like those other apps where you swipe left or right. So you swipe it, and you say, oh, yep, swipe left for personal, swipe right for business. And there you go. And so now it keeps track of all the mileage that you drove, and you don't have to keep a record. You don't have to write it down on a logbook, oh, this many miles to here, that many miles to there. No, it's all automatic right on your phone. And it's completely 100% now audit proof, because you can't fudge those numbers, right? It was using the GPS to measure exactly how far you drove and everything, and your miles. So you've got it all in a digital record right on your Hurdler app. It's really, really cool. So very, very convenient. And then when it's time to do your taxes, you just log in, you say, hey, set up my, what they call a Schedule C. Okay. Your Schedule C is your deductions that go against your business and your income, right? So of course it shows how much you made in your different business things you're doing. And so it'll just say, okay, you had this much income, you had this much deduction, and this is what your actual income was, right? So really, really cool, very convenient. And you can just plug that in, or if you've got a tax professional, you can just give it to them and say, hey, here's my Schedule C, ready to go, and you're done. So super awesome to use Hurdler. All right. Now, the other thing is that you want to make sure is that, if you're doing a business and it's got like a monthly auto ship kind of thing, make sure you're doing it, because in the end, it's 100% tax deductible anyway, right? Make sure you're getting some leads, because those are all 100% tax deductible. Make sure you got yourself some business cards and some swag, okay? Because it's 100% tax deductible. And then if you want to learn more about this, where I got all this information, okay, is this book right here called Lower Your Taxes Big Time by Sandy Botkin. He was a former IRS auditor, and when he left the IRS, he went and wrote this book, and then he was partially responsible for that Hurdler app I was talking about. Okay, he created something before called TaxBot, and then TaxBot got merged into Hurdler. But the whole book talks about all of everything I just said and so much more about wealth building, tax reduction, and other secrets from an IRS insider, right? So really good book. I bought it several years ago, but definitely worth looking into, because Sandy tells it like it is and shows you how you can save all kinds of money by having a home-based business. So, but he's the one that said you would have to be brain dead to not have a home-based business. Okay. So if you decide not to do all these steps, then, okay, from here on out, all you got to do is just go take a $20 bill out of your wallet every morning on your way out the door, light it on fire, because that's what you're doing, is just giving away free money. These tax deductions that we're talking about here can save you so much money. All right. So this is your first legal weapon. Okay. So taxes, crazy. There's only two sure things in life: death and taxes. We've all heard that phrase, and it's true. And so it is the single largest expense that most people will ever pay, because it's all over the place, whether it's sales tax, income tax, death tax, all the taxes, right? But nobody teaches you how to legally minimize them. The wealthy don't avoid taxes, they just optimize them with these strategies. Okay. So I pray that you'll truly use this valuable information I just gave you. If you do exactly what I tell you to do here, you can save thousands every year on your taxes. And you compound that over the years, and it can really make a difference in your financial future. Okay. So if you're not running a home-based business yet, I hope this presentation was enough to help you see why it's so important to get in business today. Okay. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and switch gears here real quick, and we're going to talk about a potential business opportunity that a lot of us on here are super excited about, that allows people to not only do everything I just talked about with saving money and taxes and stuff, but also to fight back in a different way through what we call decentralization. Okay, decentralization is a new buzzword that's out there, and it has to do with this idea of taking the power back into our own hands, right? It really is a fascinating thing that's happening, and because of technology, because of the internet, because of something that is starting to take hold called Web3 or blockchain. And all of that is allowing people to really have a little bit more control in their lives, of their money and their future, right? So I'm going to go ahead and dive into that. Let's go ahead and pull that presentation up and talk a little bit about how we can take advantage of this new world, this new trend that's taking place. And it's called Cirrus Networks. That is the company that makes this all possible. Okay. And let's just kind of dive into this real quick. I do have to do this disclaimer real fast, that what we're talking about tonight is not a guarantee. We're not talking about investments. This is not financial advice, any of those things, right? I'm not telling you, what to do with your money or anything. What we're presenting tonight is just education about what is blockchain, what is Web 3.0, and how Cirrus as a company is allowing people to be an owner in this new digital economy, okay? And what that can mean for each of us. So the first thing we need to really understand is that decentralization is important, okay? Sorry, I skipped a slide there, but we're talking about the future is now. the world is changing every single day. There's new things happening. You've all probably heard of Bitcoin. You've probably all heard of cryptocurrencies and these kinds of things. And governments across the world are adopting this new technology because it's just safer and better and faster, and there's more trust to it. They're trying to avoid fraud and corruption and things like that. So big businesses and governments are taking advantage of it. But not only that, but we're also seeing that individuals, you and me, we're able to now reject the control that big tech and these big companies have over us, right? Tech giants are always profiting from us, and they're silencing people. So the whole thing about going on Facebook or going on Instagram or going on TikTok or whatever, and posting your opinion, and then having those platforms silence you, block you, cancel your account or whatever. It's frustrating, right? And then of course, big banks, they also profit from your money while offering very little in return. We know that. So a new, fair, transparent, and decentralized community is starting to emerge. And that's why we're so excited. So why does decentralization matter? Well, we talked a little bit about taking the power away from the big guys and putting it into the hands of the little guys. And we've seen that through companies like Uber, right? That they disrupted the whole taxi concept by letting people use their own car to give people rides. Lyft, same thing. DoorDash, right? Allowing people to go and just, on their own time, with their own vehicle, go and deliver food to people. Turo, if you have an extra car that's not being used, you might as well rent it out, right? And compete against car rental companies. Fiverr lets people that maybe they've got some talent in graphic design or music or crafts or whatever, and you can hire them out for $5 to create stuff that in a big studio might cost you hundreds of dollars. And then Airbnb, of course, allows people, if they've got an extra bedroom or an extra home, to just rent that out. You don't have to go through the hotels and franchises and stuff. So it's great. And it's really helped people to be part of this new economy of decentralization. Problem is, you can't own those companies, right? Uber still is a centralized entity. It still controls who can drive for them, that kind of stuff. So through blockchain, we can now have ownership in this new digital economy. It's really fascinating. And you can become what we like to call a digital landlord and benefit from the participation in the community. So let's just take a little bit deeper dive into centralized versus decentralized. So the centralized system that we've known is still around a lot today, and for the last 100 years has been banks, Google, government, right? All these kinds of things. They can censor or shut you down. You have to trust them. There's a single point of failure. But with decentralized or blockchain, you've got thousands of independent computers that are all connected and all doing the verification and creating that trust. It's almost impossible to shut it down. You can verify it yourself, and now there's no single point of failure. Okay, so that's what decentralization is. And it really is giving people power again to take things into their own hands. Now, what's happening across the world is that through decentralization and something called tokenization, there's big companies and big investment firms that are adopting this because they're tired of getting taken advantage of, just like we are, right? So BlackRock, one of the largest investment companies on the country, Fidelity, they're doing tokenized funds on the blockchain, upwards of billions of dollars. Okay, countries, Switzerland, Singapore, the UAE, they're tokenizing government bonds. You've got big companies like Walmart and IBM that are using blockchain for their supply chain system, knowing where the food is, coming from, where it's being delivered to, so they can track it. If there's any kind of a recall they need to do. You've got financial companies like Ondo Finance and Centrifuge, and they're doing billions in real world assets, invoices and treasury bills, all those things. It's all going tokenized on a blockchain. You've got countries that are even experimenting with real estate on the blockchain, everywhere from the United States to Germany to Australia. So this isn't something off in the future somewhere, right? This is happening now. The train already left the station, okay? And so we just have to decide, are we going to jump on this train or are we going to just let it go by and wonder what happened? So you might be asking then, well, okay, I see that this is the future. That's great. But how does this actually benefit me, or how can I be involved in something that seems so technical, right? How does this relate to me as an individual just trying to make ends meet? Well, let's answer that question. So it all comes down to rewards and loyalty. So who doesn't love to get free stuff with loyalty programs, right? I am a connoisseur of loyalty programs. I have all the apps on my phone. I've got McDonald's, I've got Delta Sky Mile, I've got Starbucks, I've got all of them. Burger King, I mean, you name it, Subway, I got them all. I love it. And there is nowhere I go to get food or whatever where I don't go, oh, I've got my app, right? I need to get, scan my receipt or use the app to make my purchase so I can get the points and stuff, because I love getting free food. It's so fun. So whether it's stars at Starbucks or McDonald's rewards for free food or Delta Sky Miles to get a free flight, most companies today have some kind of program to keep us coming back for more, right? We love it. It's fun. Why not? Okay. Well, the problem is that all those different kinds of programs they're set for themselves, right? So, for example, if I get stars on on one of the apps, so if I'm at Starbucks, I'm getting stars, and okay, well, I want to use those stars at McDonald's, it's not going to work. Or if I say, hey, I've got a whole bunch of Sky Miles, but I want to go use them at American Airlines, it's not going to work because they only work at Delta. And the other problem is, if you don't use them, usually within like a year or so, they'll expire. They'll go away, right? They'll cancel them, or they can adjust them, right? They can say, oh, you know what? Now you need 20,000 miles instead of just 10,000 to get a flight, right? They adjust them, and so it's kind of to a disadvantage. I mean, for the most part, it works and it's fun, but thanks to blockchain, we're now tokenizing loyalty, right? And rewards. So think about this. What if the rewards that you earned could not only be used on everyday services like your cell phone service, right? Your mobile service, streaming, television, conferencing, cashback shopping, travel, and more. But what if on top of all of that, you could actually convert them just into dollars and say, you know what? I just want to cash them out and actually get money for them, right? Sky Miles you can't do that. You can't take your McDonald's points and turn them into dollars, right? That you could use anywhere. No, but thanks to blockchain, that is now a possibility. It's real. So what blockchain makes it possible? Well, there's all kinds of blockchains out there. There's, hundreds of them, right? But most of them are really complicated. Most of them don't allow for this kind of thing. Node blockchain, which just got introduced a little less than a year ago, was designed specifically for this kind of stuff. Okay. So Cirrus Networks, working with the Node blockchain, is offering AI integrated products that we use on a daily basis that offer daily rewards. Okay. What's so cool about this is that because it's a blockchain, you get all the data sovereignty, you get all the transparency, but you're now getting rewarded for your participation in the community just by using the different services. Now, there's 3 ways that you can actually participate with this. Okay. The first way is you could actually be an owner. Now, owning means that you are hosting what we call a node. So a node is a software that helps do all the transactions. It helps verify everything that's going on the blockchain. So if you decide that hey, guess what? I want to be an owner. I want to be able to take advantage of daily rewards that are getting paid out by powering the blockchain, having my own little generator that's plugged into it, right? Now, and it's not like you have to have a computer that's hooked up to the internet and you have to, make sure it's running all the time, all that stuff. No, that's the old way. That's what they used to do with Bitcoin mining. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is that you do a one-time purchase of a node, and now not only are you getting daily rewards because you have ownership, but you also have a voice and you get to vote on projects and future enhancements and other cool things, right? You're just part of the community now. It's like you own a piece of the whole community of the Nodi blockchain. Now, there's other incentives for participation, right? Some people want to just buy it and kind of just, okay, I'm an owner and hands off, and that's fine. But other people want to just be involved, right? And they want to take part, maybe not daily, but quite often. And you can actually get rewarded with digital Nodi tokens for your contributions in the ecosystem and participating in the commerce that's happening within the decentralized network. Okay. And then there's a third way to participate, which is what we call promotion. Now, this is where you're not only just, using the services and, you're not just an owner, but you're actively spreading the word, right? You're like an ambassador for the Nodi blockchain. And so you go out and tell people about it, and you're saying, hey, come be part of this, right? Come join me in this cool community. Look at all the amazing things we have, and come be rewarded with me, right? And we just share the phrase, live your life and get rewarded. And so when people join the community thanks to you, well, now you actually earn money, not just rewards, right? But you actually can earn dollars on a weekly basis for sharing with other people. Okay, so that's pretty fun. So if you want to be an owner, this is how you do it. You go get yourself a node, and it's just like I said, you're owning a generator for the decentralized power. Okay, you host that node, it fuels the blockchain ecosystem, and it's seamless. You just kind of set it up, and it starts to contribute to the global network. So when you think ownership, think of it like this. Would you rather have the milk, or would you rather have the cow that gives the milk, right? Would you rather have the apples, or would you rather have the orchard that produces the apples? Would you rather have the corn, or would you rather own the field where the corn grows, right? So you can keep getting more and more corn. Or would you rather have the golden eggs, or would you rather have the goose that lays those golden eggs over and over again? So that's what we're talking about. When you are an owner of a node, you now own something that's producing on a daily basis. Okay, it's producing those rewards every single day. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And a lot of people like to do that. But if you don't, right, if you're not interested in actually owning, that's okay. You can just participate with what we call micronodes. Okay, so what are micronodes? Well, that is what differentiates Nodi and Cirrus from all the other blockchain projects out there. Any other kind of blockchain that you are aware of, there's two ways to participate. You can either buy the tokens, which is like buying the milk, right? Or you can buy the cow, right? But they're usually very expensive and, out of a lot of people's budget. But with micronodes, this is something where you actually can have ownership, but it's not expensive. Okay. So it's basically saying, hey, you know what? I use cloud storage to save my pictures and transfer large files. So, maybe I use Google Drive, or maybe I use Dropbox, or maybe I use iCloud, whatever it is. Well, guess what? What if you could do something very similar and actually have all the storage, 6 terabytes of storage, and it was better priced? And because you had that, you're earning daily rewards. Now, is it as much as owning the full node? No, but it's still pretty decent, right? What about doing meetings, just like we're doing tonight, right? This presentation I'm doing is on a technology called Meetin. Well, same kind of thing. For $20 a month, I can now have up to 1,000 people that I can share a message with, right? Just like Zoom, just like so many others out there. But the difference is that it's cheaper, it's better, and it pays daily rewards. Zoom's not paying me daily rewards. Other conferencing software is not paying me daily rewards, right? But Meetin is, because it's powered by Noti. And there's other things that are coming out very soon: travel and online shopping and cell phone service and television streaming, similar to like Netflix or HBO Max or whatever. All these different kinds of services that will be coming to the Noti blockchain that people do anyway. And of course, the idea is that you can receive daily rewards for doing stuff that you were going to do anyway. Okay, so it's all about having utility. That's the key thing here. Cirrus Networks emphasizes the importance of purpose-driven blockchain based on the consumption of pure utility to the power of the blockchain. These subscriptions become the backbone of the entire economic structure of the blockchain community. So we like to call it the triple advantage, because not only are they better products, they have more features, they have cool things that the competition just doesn't have, right? Like I said, with the Safe product, it's more storage than the competition. With the Meetin product, you get more add-ons, more features, live translation, all kinds of cool things. So there's more to it, better products, better pricing, right? They're actually cheaper than the competition, okay? Way cheaper. With Zoom, for example, to get all the same stuff that you'd get with Meetin, you'd be paying upwards of $100, $150 a month, if not more. If you got everything, it'd probably be closer to $500 a month. But you get all of it for just $20, right? $20 a month. And then, of course, better rewards, right? Nobody else is paying rewards like what you get with the Noti powered services. Okay. Now, if you're interested in also earning those weekly dollars, right, then you might be interested in being what we call an affiliate or an associate with Cirrus Networks. And this is powerful because what happens is, if you, for example, if you see an ad for a movie, right, you say, oh, okay, that new movie's coming out and it looks fun, it's looking good. Or maybe a restaurant, right? You see something, you're like, oh yeah, that restaurant looks pretty good. You see, something pops up on your phone and you're thinking, okay, yeah, maybe I'll go try that out. It would be, it'd be fun for the weekend. But just imagine then your friend, right? Somebody your coworker, somebody that you know and you like and you trust, and they come to you and they say, whoa, hey, did you see that movie yet? It's so good. You've got to see it. It's the best. It's got this actor in it. And, or have you tried out that restaurant yet? It's so delicious. Oh my gosh, it was so yummy. You got to try it out. Guess what happens? You're like 1,000% more likely to go to that movie or go to that restaurant because somebody and you like and you trust recommended it to you, because you don't want to get left out, right? So that is the power of word of mouth marketing, okay? 88% of consumers trust personal recommendations the most. That's what happened. And then the younger generation, right, Gen Zers, 25% of the new brands and products that they discover is through word of mouth. It's through a friend or a colleague or somebody telling them about it, like texting it to them or something, right? Or showing it to them on Instagram. So that is the cool thing, is that Cirrus allows us to just do the same thing. We share it on our Instagram. We share it on our Facebook. We share it, through WhatsApp or whatever means that we want to, right? We tell people about it. We just go out to dinner with somebody and we say, hey, have you heard about this really cool new thing that's happening with blockchain and Web 3.0 and all? And people are, okay, yeah, that sounds cool. I need more storage space for my digital files. I need to have a new travel platform. I can save money on my travel. Sure, yeah, tell me more about it. And you tell them, And then next thing you know, you're getting paid, right? You're getting paid 20% or more for just recommending these products and services to people, or nodes, right? If somebody wants to buy a node and be a digital landlord. So this is how it works. You join for free, and then you just tell people. You tell people about it, and you're going to earn 20% on all of the different products and services that they buy. Okay. For example, if you were to sell a full node, you'd make about $360 the following Friday, right? Pretty cool. And then you can actually use the power of leverage and duplication to have an entire team. It could be hundreds, if not even thousands of people over time, and you get to make a little percent off of everything they do. Could be all kinds of subscriptions, cell phone subscriptions, people, going shopping, people traveling, whatever. And you now earn every time they engage with the different products and services, right? So you combine that with the daily rewards that you get from your own nodes and the referral rewards from people on your team. And guess what? You even got daily payout. It's really, really fun. So it's all about timing, though. The whole world is becoming decentralized, right? Almost everything is going to start using blockchain technology. And we are pioneering this new category that we like to call digital landlordship. But 93% of the world has yet to adopt it. So your timing could not be better. You're new, you're brand new at this, and you have an entire world full of people who are just finding out about it, and you can be the first one to show it to them. And that could all be part of your team, right? Your digital world, and you could potentially make money on that for the rest of your life. So the future is now. We recommend secure your place in this new Node blockchain revolution. Get involved, start to learn about it, embrace the sovereignty, the transparency, the power of participation, start to contribute to this decentralized future that's going to happen with us or without us, right? Say no to those big tech companies and say yes to your future. You can be a digital landlord with daily rewards for as little as $10 a month. That's it. It's not expensive to be part of this. So with that, we'll go ahead and call tonight. Thank you for jumping on tonight. Please reach out if you have any questions, if you want to know a little bit more about how this works. If somebody invites you to watch this, get back with them so they can answer all your questions. And we welcome you. Welcome you to the digital future, blockchain, Web 3.0. It's here, and we are privileged enough to be the first ones to know about it. So thanks again, and we will talk soon. Thanks, everybody.